They say wine improves with age, but can a car? We'll find out this week on Motoring 2004.
TSN's Motoring 2004 is brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. Oils fine-tuned for different engines. And Midas, Total Car Care. We do that.
Well, this week we're cruising on Motoring. Well, as a matter of fact, I'm driving a 2004 Corvette. Well, obviously, I'm not driving. I'm in the passenger side, and believe me, there are few people I'd give up the left seat to. But the guy driving is somebody called Ron Fellows, and he kicked and screamed long enough. I said, all right already, you can drive. Anyway, this week, we're heading off to a birthday party as people have gathered to pay homage to the history, the passion, and the love affair for the Corvettes.
They call her Corvette. And she belongs to the highway just for the sheer and simple joy of driving, for the open road and the country byway, for Mr. and Mrs. America in a carefree mood. Boy, what a car.
This year marks Corvette's 50th birthday. It's their 50th anniversary. They've been around since 1953, and to celebrate there was a huge party last weekend in Nashville. A lot of people went down for that, and I decided, well, you know, there's no reason why Canada can't celebrate it. So we decided to organize a huge party. We have 375 vets. We thought, okay, should we have a show? Should we have a race? We decided, no, let's do a cruise, and then everyone will come. And we did, and the weather was fabulous, and that's why we're all here today, is to say happy birthday to the best car around, in my opinion, which is the Corvette. We had a chance to have a 2004 here, which is a very popular new car. No one's had a chance to see it, so that's been out front. Yeah, Jim was driving that, and I was his co-pilot, so that was nice to have. It's great. Everybody's enjoying the cars. GM brought out specialty vets, so we are very appreciative to them. They had a chance to bring Ron Fellows here, so people are very anxious to get autographs from him.
There you go, sir.
Thank you.
It's amazing the years that I've been involved with Corvette racing, and to see the kind of passion that people have for this car. It's amazing. It's all over the world.
Thanks, bro.
Whether they're from England, France, Belgium, we've seen them all at Le Mans, and they are absolutely crazy about the Corvette. It's borderline fanaticism at its best. It's really something to see.
The completely new Corvette Stingray for 1963.
It's an interesting car, and as I've mentioned a couple of times, the 50th anniversary of a brand name. That's half as long as the Ford Motor Company's been in business, and I think that's pretty amazing that a car as specialized as the Corvette has lasted this long. And it's pretty true to its traditions as well. Okay, the first 300 were 6-cylinder, 2-speed automatics, but as of 1955, it got the V8 engine, and it's been the performance icon, not only for North America, but pretty much for the world. And there's a passion for these cars that's really rare. There's some suspicion that, gee, don't these people have anything else to do with their lives except drive Corvettes? But the car has that kind of appeal to people. I don't know, maybe they get addicted to the resin smell in the car. I can't be sure.
We've been doing this for over 20 years. Actually, we've had the Red 56 that we own since 1978, so we're getting into 25 years with the Corvetting hobby now. We've raised our family around Corvettes, and it's both kids have been brought up with Corvetting, and it's really been a great part of our life. It's just the camaraderie, the whole social aspect of it is terrific.
The neat thing about the Corvette, in my opinion, is that they build 30,000 plus of them a year, and that keeps the cost way down because it has everything that you could want and more than cars twice its price. It's a really tremendous value and a great car to drive.
I was thinking again today, I don't know of any car you can buy that goes as fast, handles as well, and rides as well. That's the key thing, rides as well as a Corvette with this new magnetic ride suspension. Forget about the fact that it's the best sports car you can buy for the money. It pretty much may be the best sports car you can buy. And if you want to come close to performance, you've got to be spending twice as much. So it's a pretty impressive vehicle. Everything old will be new again, except maybe bell bottoms. What? They're back too? More later on Kenzie's Corner.
There's plenty of legroom, plenty of headroom, and if you go with the up-level van, well, you get more glass in the roof than I've got in my house, and some other stuff. The original Quest minivan was a critical success with but two minor complaints. First of all, a little too small for many buyers, and second, it was a little conservative. This week on Test Drive, we take a look at a much larger and certainly much louder version of the Quest.
Aside from its radical style, the first thing you notice about the latest Quest is its sheer size. Compared to the original version, the new one is a friggin' monster. The wheelbase, for example, is almost a foot longer, overall length is up by 9 inches, and it is at 77.6 inches wider than most. As a result, it now ranks as one of the roomiest minivans on the market, boasting an interior volume of 211 cubic feet, which is 22 more than the Honda Odyssey.
You know, another place the Quest differs in terms of its minivan capability is when you actually need to use it as a van. Rather than having to lift the heavy seat out and hump it away, all you do, 1, 2. That takes care of the middle seats. You now move to the rear. First of all, after you've taken all the headrests out and put them in the handy little tote bag, you quite simply fold that down into there. You now have enough space to carry a 4x8 sheet board with the tailgate closed. It really is that versatile. However, there is one drawback. Now, if you happen to have 3 kids, 2 adults that are going on a long vacation, you have to make a decision. You either sit the 3 kids in the back seat and put all the luggage in the middle, or you put the luggage back here, as you should do, and leave one of the kids at home, because there's only 2 seats up front.
Quest features an independent suspension with struts up front and a multi-link design in back and stabilizer bars at both ends. The resulting handling is remarkably poised for such a large minivan. A big part of the sure-footed feel is down to the large 225/60R17 tyres. That said, the faster you go, the more ponderous the Quest begins to feel. In the pylon test, this showed up as moderate body roll and some understeer. Rounding out the dynamic package is a nicely weighted rack and pinion steering system and a large set of vented discs that are controlled by an advanced anti-lock system that also includes brake assist. The nice part, however, is that several high-speed stops revealed little in the way of fade. The anti-lock system also helps the traction control and vehicle stability control systems keep the Quest on the right side of the road.
You know, in most minivans, the third row seat is not where you want to find yourself seated. However, in the Quest, it's more than acceptable, especially if you go with the up-level van. To begin with, you get plenty of legroom, plenty of headroom, and more glass in the roof than I have in my house. You also get climate controls that the rear seat riders can adjust themselves, and a DVD player that comes with not 1, but 2 DVD screens. Now, the latter is a small touch, but it does cut down on the arguing about who's going to sit back here and away from the single screen you find in most minivans.
Under the hood is essentially the same 6 that has won critical acclaim for more than a decade, and rightly so. Simply, it's a belter. It's smooth at idle, quick to react to a prod of the gas, and with 240 horsepower and 242 pounds-feet of torque on tap, it pulls as well as most will ever need. From here, the power is relayed to the road through one of 2 transmissions. In the base and mid-range Quest models, this means a 4-speed automatic. However, move up to the full Zoot SE tested and it gets a 5-speed automatic. That extra gear really helps to keep the engine in its sweet spot for more of its operating life. The bottom line? Well, I'm afraid all models should get the better gearbox, especially given the Quest's pricing.
The design of the Quest inside is as radical as it is out, but that's not to say it isn't functional. First of all, the gauges move to the middle of the dash. Once you get used to it, very easy to use. The upside is that you get an extra storage compartment behind the wheel. You also, if you go with the top of the line Quest, get all of the goodies you could possibly want. Decent navigation system, automatic climate controls, and a wonderful radio. The only thing you've got to watch for, the location of the gear lever. Whenever you pull it back into drive, it's very easy to turn the overdrive switch off. Now when you do that and drive the vehicle, you won't do any harm to the car itself. You will, however, consume fuel needlessly. The drawback is that because the warning light's way the heck over there on the dash, you don't automatically see it. So be careful. Make sure you drive the Quest with the overdrive switched on.
On the safety front, the Quest SE gets the lot. Dual-stage front airbags, side seat-mounted bags, as well as drop-down side curtains that protect all 3 rows, and adjustable pedals. Now the latter allows a shorter driver to sit further away from the airbags than might otherwise be possible.
You know, the original Quest was very well received. Its replacement is that van and so much more. There's plenty of innovation, a wonderful drivetrain, and handling characteristics that really do surprise for a minivan. Then you get to the looks. Well, they're controversial to say the least. Indeed, one casual observer suggested he saw some Aztec in this new Quest lines. All I can say is ouch, and hope not too many other people do.
Our Midas tip of the week concerns your brake system. As you can see, our Mazda 6 just came through the car wash and it's squeaky clean. But if you look closely at the left front wheel, you'll see that there's a lot of brake dust around this rim. Now, brake dust is a normal condition. As your brake pads wear down, the friction material in your brake pads turns into a fine dust and it will collect around the wheel. Now, how much collects will depend on the style of wheel, how open it is, and how hard and how fast you're driving the car. The harder you use the brakes, the more dust wears off the friction material, the more dust you'll see on the wheel. Now, the color of this dust is usually black. On this car, you can see it's quite black. Sometimes it could be a bronzy color depending on the composition of the brake pads. If you see a red, rusty red colored dust on one particular wheel, that could be an indication that you've got metal to metal brakes. You've worn out the brake pads completely, and you've got a bit of iron dust because you've worn the rotors out. If you see that, it's a bit of a diagnostic tool and something you want to get onto right away. However, a certain amount of dust is inevitable. It's a fact of life. One thing you want to remember though, this dust shouldn't be left on here indefinitely, because the semi-metallic brake linings on today's cars, of course that dust has a little bit of metal powder, and every time that gets wet, it's a little bit corrosive. If you leave it on these pretty wheels indefinitely, eventually it'll permanently mark them. So there's a good case for hand washing your car, getting in there and getting all that brake dust out of there. That's your Midas tip of the week.
80% of the market is in the hands of 5 big groups, which are operational worldwide. We are different. We spend a lot of attention on the look of the tire because we think that a tire, of course, has to be good. That's the basic condition. You know, in the buying decision, there is not only the ratio, but there's also the emotion.
It's a 1947 Chevy sedan. You don't see too many of these sedans hot rodded. This particular one is what they call the round top. If you notice the top, it's rounded in the back, and when it's customized and the door handles are all taken off, it looks like a coupe, and they're hard to find. Some of the 4-doors have a 5th window in the back. They just don't look right customized, but this one here does. It looks good. You get a lot of comments on it. It's a nice car. It's got a 350 Chevy Camaro engine, about a 1990. Has a 350 turbo automatic transmission in it. Zero problems. It's just been an awesome car. It's a good road car. It's been built for the road. It has a Mustang 2 front end, and we just put a 78 Mustang power steering rack in it this summer. It's got power seats, lumbar in the seats, cruise tilt. It's got all the amenities, and the air conditioning is really nice in the summer. We just put that in last fall. There's been opportunities for me to trade it or get a different car. I've had people want to buy it. Just can't do it. I want to hang on to it. It's got a lot of room. I got seat belts in it. I take my grandkids on trips with me with it. It's just a lot of fun, a lot of room in it.
We're back at the 50th birthday party for the Corvette in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and I have to admit, I'm a little disappointed in some of the enthusiasts here. I mean, we all know what a bra is, right? Well, as far as I'm concerned, a bra has no place at an event like this, at least not on a car. But as you can see, a few have snuck in, and I don't get it. I mean, you buy a car for its looks, and the Corvette's got that beautiful front end, and then you mess it all up with a black brassiere. Now, people will tell you they spend between $400 and $600 on these bras to protect the car, but does it really protect it? Well, let's put that question to our man in the Quaker State garage, Bill Gardner.
Well, Brad, I've noticed my customers that have them on their cars, if they've got them on there for an extended period of time, the bra or mask itself leaves marks on the cars because grit and abrasives get in behind it and it scuffs against the paint, and eventually the paint gets abraded and it ends up looking dull or sandblasted anyways. So I don't know, pick your poison, stone chips or the marks of the bra leaf. But here's another good alternative to a product like that. Now, our long-term tester here, the Tundra, has poly film on the leading edge of the hood. It starts here and goes back and ends there. You really can't see it, it's invisible. All you can see is where it stops back here. It goes right across the leading edge of the hood, encompasses this whole area here, and it also covers this part down here. There's a couple of other areas on the rear wheel wells where they've put this as well, and it seems to work really well. It prevents that sandblasted look on the leading edge. Doesn't clean up any easier than the paint itself. When you get bug splatter on there, it's just as hard to get off, but it prevents that sandblasted look on your paint. So there's something you want to have a look at when you're buying a new car, and a car detailing shop can put that product on for you. Now, what we want to talk about this week is our cameraman's car, Pete McCallum's car. He had his car in at the dealership the other day for routine servicing. One of the things they did on his car was rotate the wheels. Now, he picked up a bad vibration afterwards, and we wanted to pull off the wheels and see if any wheel weights had been replaced. In other words, if they balanced the wheels, or maybe a wheel weight had become dislodged. Now, when Pete took out the stock issue wheel wrench from the car, couldn't budge any of the wheel nuts. We got out a four-way, which gives you a lot more leverage because you can push and pull, and I handed it to Pete. He couldn't budge any of the wheel nuts on this car. Now, I'm about 70 pounds heavier than he is, so I think I'm probably going to prevail. But as I went around this car and tried to loosen off all the wheel nuts, it was all I could do to get them loose as well. So it just goes to show you that they were grossly over-tightened. Now, I took my torque wrench and checked. I set it at roughly double the torque spec for this car and went around with the ratchet in reverse, and my torque wrench was clicking, breaking loose before it would move the wheel nuts. So I know they were grossly over-tightened. Now, a torque wrench like this is the proper way to install the wheels on your car. Now, this is an expensive tool, but it's the right way to finish off the job anytime you've done any wheel service. Now, what you do is you go around the car, set up the torque wrench to the spec for the car, and the specs will vary depending on the vehicle and the size of the wheel stud. For example, on some half-ton or three-quarter-ton pickup trucks, you could have a wheel torque as high as 140 foot-pounds. On a smaller car, you might have a wheel torque of 75 to 80 foot-pounds. But in any case, it's a good idea to make sure that the service personnel working on your vehicle know that you know the correct torque and you want it done properly. Ask them to properly torque the wheels with a torque wrench when they finish off the job. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 2004.
If you're my age, well, you're probably in a home, but you also probably grew up with a rear-wheel drive car. Just about everything in the old days was rear drive, engine up front, driving wheels in the back the way God intended. Well, there was the occasional Cord and maybe a European Citroen or two, but for the most part, virtually every car we had was of this same basic configuration. That all changed with the Austin Mini in 1959. Pretty soon, just about every car made was front-wheel drive. The reason? Well, you can get a bigger interior package within the same exterior box if you jam all the drivetrain components into one end. But there's a problem with that. Making the front wheels do the steering and the driving creates challenges for the engineers, and you know, it just doesn't feel the same. And that's why ultra-luxury cars like Rolls-Royce, Porsche, Ferrari, or even this Mercedes here have always been rear-wheel drive based. Now, another potential advantage of front-wheel drive is that with the weight of the engine over the driving wheels, you get better traction in the winter. Well, today we've got directional stability control systems, we've got traction control systems. Frankly, I would rather drive a rear-wheel drive car with good winter tires than a front-wheel drive any time. And we're starting to see a trend back to rear-wheel drive, even in mainstream cars. Chrysler has their big plant in Bramalea. It's going to build a brand new family of mid-size to full-size domestic family sedans, rear-wheel drive oriented. Cadillac is switching their entire production to rear-wheel drive because it just feels better. Now, if rear-wheel drive is better than front-wheel drive, there's one thing that's better than either of them, and that's four-wheel drive. But that's another show. I'm Jim Kenzie.
Well, the Corvette birthday party is continuing here in Niagara-on-the-Lake. Unfortunately, we're all out of time, but before we go, we just want to mention that next year, the National Corvette Restorers Society of the United States is holding their first convention outside the States. It'll be in Windsor, Ontario, July 2004, and with 15,000 members, it promises to be quite an event. So there you go. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
The alarm, of course, today, from a security standpoint, really doesn't offer much because most people, if they hear an alarm in a parking lot, will ignore it.
TSN's Motoring 2004 has been brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil, oils fine-tuned for different engines, and Midas, Total Car Care. We do that.